Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. At SEMA this past month, Harbor Freight announced their all-new sort of shrunken down but not quite compact half-inch earthquake impact wrench for 2023. Then before the year was out, it popped up on the website, so we bought one. This is the EQ12 SCGXT, and well, it's quite small, essentially mid-torque-like size compared to the largest of air tools. If that impact market really had a well-developed mid-torque category like cordless does, but it kind of doesn't in air. And yet, despite its size, it's advertising a full 1,000 foot-pounds of bolt breakaway. Its larger brother, the traditional Harbor Freight Earthquake, that appears to sell for around $10 more at retail, that one has only gotten upgrades to its exterior shell and colors over the years, and is also rated for 1,000 foot-pounds but in tightening, or 1,200 foot-pounds in a comparable bolt breakaway figure. So this new model is about 20% less powerful, as the brand says, but they also point out as being 20% more compact, which I might disagree with. The overall length of the original Earthquake is 7.9 inches, quite long, and this new one's sub 6 inches, 5.9, which is under an M18 mid-torque. That's about 25% less length. Sure, there's other dimensions that sort of follow the human hand shape, but length is mainly the restriction for fitting these tools in most places, which stands out when looking at this tool versus most old to modern air impacts. The weight is also around 25 to 30% less, and you feel it. So yeah, you get it, it's smaller and lighter, but that alone doesn't make this thing a home run. On our channel, it needs to put up some numbers to be ranked with the rest, and with numbers like 1,000 on the box, it's trying to play with the big boys for sure. Cordless mid-torques don't get close to boasting that type of tabulation. So we're of course going to dyno this example versus the other green Earthquake, its traditional brother, or whatever color you might buy it these days, which that impact all said is a good one, just maybe not the latest design under the hood. As well as versus a Milwaukee mid-torque, just as something similar length, you might have context for comparing power against and cordless, and the 1894 Thor, which is only 3/4 of an inch longer, but much more Thor's hammer shaped, using dimensions in other directions that you'd hope to make a bigger splash, understandably given the size. Here's all the new Earthquakes competition up first in our 5-second working torque test, performed in forward. So you'd expect the new model to sort of be in between these two lower two ones here. Here's the new Earthquake in green. $395 foot-pounds, a bit closer than you'd assume at their peaks, but on the curve, yeah, around 25% less in spots compared to the performance of the standard Earthquake. Though that Earthquake does do well for itself in forward, let's see them in reverse in our 10-second max torque test. Here's all of them on screen. $537, edging out the full-size Earthquake with a smaller tool, albeit at the end with a handful of foot-pounds. That's not bad. This is looking like a similarly priced, similarly powerful Earthquake, just in a smaller package. Those smaller guns do typically peak quicker, using less air volume, requiring less peak pressure to move those lighter masses to its max capability. The full-size Earthquake here was able to improve things in our 150 psi static line pressure best case scenario test up to 611 foot-pounds. Let's see how the new model fares. $597, the full-size Earthquake was able to make more of a difference compared to the smaller one at higher pressure, but the new model still fairly comparable overall to its bigger brother in this reverse direction. So if anything, Harbor Freight is underselling this new model, not something super common for the brand, but more than 25% smaller where it counts, in our opinion, and far less than that 20% power difference that they advertise in the specs. But this comparison, while needed versus the original Earthquake, and we did find that interesting, wasn't the most interesting thing that the data revealed to us. We found that by the numbers, this new model put up quite close to, well, shockingly mirror-like to the Capri Twin Power. Let's look at this working torque test comparison here. We're looking at 397 versus 395. Well, close, but yeah, look at those curves. And between these two impact wrenches, watch their max torque runs as well. This one, same on the curve throughout the run, and 537 versus 537 foot-pounds. In the BCS run, pretty much the same, 591 versus 597. And that Capri Twin Power, which by the way was rated for 1,715 foot-pounds breakaway by that brand, which we found pretty laughable at the time as well, is the same length. It's pretty much the same weight, same height, same RPM, same air consumption. And well, yeah, they're the same tool made in the same factory. You can see Harbor Freight advertising the same patented dual intake, dual exhaust air motor on the box. This dyno always surprises us just how much it's able to hammer down small differences like this and can reveal things among the hundreds of impacts that we have tested. But why is this significant? Well, Capri, also known for making tools in Taiwan like this impact, sells theirs for $199. So $150 from Harbor Freight, that ain't bad. And they, in a rare case of bullseye accuracy in their comparison here, do well to point that out. Oftentimes, their comparisons on the site here are sort of hilariously off the mark. More interesting still, I find, is that this Capri Twin Power, for those in the know, is the same model sold in a different shell again to the German tool company Hazet in their $300 twin turbo half-inch impact, the 9012 TT. Take a look at the parts breakdown, different in-house part numbers, but the drawings, number of parts total, and reference numbers for those parts are all exactly the same with the same drawing. Same RPM, same motor design, size, weight, all again. Though this one advertises 2,200 Newton meters or 1,622 foot-pounds breakaway on this small little impact, which again is some real comedy considering the performance we were able to measure versus the others today. But 3 different brands, same tool, 3 different torque ratings. It's why I felt a channel like this was needed years ago. Marketing departments really have a dartboard of specs that they pick seemingly at random sometimes, though often benefiting themselves in the specs. Though this time, Harbor Freight of all people being the most modest about the tool's claims, and that's not something we often see on the channel. Let's see how this tool scores versus that Capri that we've tested before and the original Earthquake, given that comparable modesty in the specs. Starting between the current Earthquake and the Capri Twin Power, brother from the same mother, its power runs are turned into points as 40, 54, and 60. Unsurprisingly similar to the Capri down here and near exactly the same. We just got a better best of 3 runs for it here in its BCS. At the same length, they also make for a similar but slightly higher 101.2 foot-pounds per inch, which is super good. A sign of a modern impact compared to the figure up here. We're going to take Harbor Freight at their word of 20% less here, and comparing against 800 foot-pounds, that would make for 75% of what we saw. We paid $149 for this new model, which is what we paid for the original when it was updated, though outside of sales, that one's $160 now. That's 60.1 points, which totals 390.3, pushing it way up compared to those. Tied here with the standard Hercules, also from Harbor Freight, which we're placing it below because that one is more powerful, said. But really, considering the size and half the weight, can understand why it climbed up to be around here. This tool to me is not all about the raw numbers, as it doesn't break any records and won't do absolutely everything. It's all about the comparisons, similar ranking to the Hercules High Torque, a much cheaper way to buy a Hazet Twin Turbo, basically half the price, or $50 off of a Capri Twin Power, with an over-the-counter buying experience. And really similar power to the standard Earthquake, but a smaller frame for it. Being a 2022 impact design versus a now long-in-the-tooth Earthquake with a 2019 shell, but underneath is much older, I normally don't really understand the place for mid-size air impacts. Air excels at being super, super tiny, smaller than cordless can be, or just as powerful as they can make it. But the existing Earthquake, while I feel is a good impact, doesn't leave a dent in our rankings anymore in 2023 sort of marketplace. So this new one makes sense to have a similar power for less coin at retail and smaller footprint, which really paves the way, I think, for a true top 10 half-inch air impact from Harbor Freight in the future, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Until then, there's of course the Hercules Ultra Torque, and I don't see too many people complaining about that one. Appreciate you joining us for this. We make episodes like this one at least every Friday. Subscribe if that's your cup of tea. Thanks for watching.